Welcome to Nedgic at Play, the first Board Game Dog podcast. My name is Ned, or Nedgic to my friends, and there is nothing more I like to do than disturb my human when he is playing board games. You can follow our adventures at boardgamedog.com or on Twitter or Instagram. Please see the podcast description for details. As our first venture into the podcast verse, we're going to play through a recreation of the world-famous cycling road race, the Criterium du Dauphine, using one of our favourite games, Flamme Rouge. This game was published in 2016 by Lautapelit and designed by Asger Harding Granerud. You can find a review of the game over on our website. So, a little about the race, but before we start, a little disclaimer to avoid any potential for unpleasantness. Despite being totally fictional, all the riders in this playthrough self-identify as male, and they have made it known that their preferred pronouns are he, him, his. Us dogs don't understand the ins and outs of all this, but it is apparently very important in the human world. As a dog, and on behalf of all dogs, I would like to take this opportunity to apologise to anyone who is offended by this. And humans think sniffing butts is strange. So, on to the Criterium du Dauphine. This is an annual cycling race which has been staged over 70 times since the Second World War. The race consists of 8 stages, and this playthrough will follow all 8. I'll be using Flamme Rouge base game and the Peloton expansion to do this. I'm setting aside the Meteo expansion this time round, so it will not be needed. The stages and the overall race reconstruction are not our own, rather they have been created by a Boardgamegeek user. I've listed the user's details in the podcast description. This playthrough recreates the 2019 Criterium, which took place between the 9th and 16th of June 2019 in France and Switzerland. The winner of the general classification in the actual race was the Danish rider Jakob Fuglsang from the Astana team. Our race includes 6 teams of 2 riders, so 12 riders in total. Each team will have a generalist rouleur and a sprinter. My human will be playing solo and will control the green team, as he always plays green in every game. I'm not sure this is a healthy approach to gaming or life in general, but then humans are mostly odd and unfathomable. The race will also include a Peloton team and 2 muscle teams, which will follow the appropriate rules set out in the Peloton expansion. The remaining 2 teams will be what the course designer terms brain teams. I have simplified these brain team rules somewhat to suit my style of play, but I will leave a link to the full rules if listeners want to check these out. In essence, the brain teams will mostly function as if they were controlled by a human player, so they take exhaustion cards if required. Between stages, brain riders will discard all exhaustion cards not used during the stage, but will then gain exhaustion for the next stage if the rider is the stage winner or if the stage ends on a flat section of track rather than a climb or descent. And these exhaustion criteria are cumulative. On their turn, brain riders draw 4 cards, just as the human player does, but then play a card according to a predefined system. Here, using a modification of the creator's format, the rider will play the second highest card drawn and then recycle the rest. Once the draw deck is exhausted and reshuffled, the rider will then continue to play the second highest card if in front of his teammate, but will play the highest card if behind. After the recycled deck is shuffled for a second time, the rider will always play the highest card. When approaching the finishing line, the rider will always choose the card that takes him furthest past the line. We would now like to introduce the 6 pairs of gladiators, determined to battle it out over the 8 grueling stages of the Criterium. First, we have one of our muscle teams, Team Camargue, aka the Manard. This established team has long been involved in road racing and has many triumphs to its name. As its name suggests, the team is based in the Camargue, in the town of Arles to be precise. The team races in white, reflecting the light colour of the region's famous cattle. Their ruler is Michel Blanc, a native of the Provence region of France. He grew up surrounded by the famous horses on the Ile de Camargue. However, a tragic bout of flu as a teenager meant he lost his sense of smell, and so his career as a horse whisperer was cut short before it had even begun. He's known for his resilience and love of oats. Their sprinter is Federico Bianchi. Born in Milan and brought up in the Po Delta, Federico is also a devotee of the Cavallo del Delta. Distantly related to the motorcycle manufacturers, he has always been drawn to 2-wheeled transport. Second, and racing in green, is the team controlled by my human. This is the ingeniously named Racing Green. This team's name harks back to the famous colour of British Formula One racing cars from the golden era of motorsport, the so-called British Racing Green. Since 1987, the team has been based in West Kingsdown, near Brands Hatch Motor Racing Circuit. The team tries to have at least one Kentish rider to reflect its local roots, and they are proud that Sevenoaks-born Frankie Moss is in the saddle at present. The team's ruler is Niklaas Groen. Born in Amsterdam, he has cycling in his blood as his family run a cycle repair shop. When not cycling, he can be found running along the polders that crisscross the Netherlands. The sprinter Frankie Moss, not related to his namesake, the racing driver Sterling, nonetheless feels the need for speed. Third is our peloton team, Blue Mountain. Sponsored by an anonymous Caribbean coffee baron, Blue Mountain rides in blue, of course, and is famed for its flamboyant style. Daring breakaways always seem to lack something when a Blue Mountain rider is missing. Their motto is winning is good, but winning with panache is what makes life worth living and cycling worth the sweat and tears. Blue Mountain's ruler is Hector Azul. This Colombian veteran is all heart. He can be guaranteed to give his all, especially in grueling mountain stages. He is ever popular with the Tifosi, and his one complaint is that the classic races of Europe aren't held at altitude. The team's sprinter is João Ultramar. The Brazilian lightning bolt is a born sprint specialist. His flamboyant victory celebrations have become a staple of road race finishing lines, and there have even been rumours of renaming the green jersey the Ultramar. Our first brain team are the Red Dragons. Established some 30 years ago by former Welsh rugby union flanker Dai Llewellyn, the Red Dragons are proud of their Welsh heritage. However, as Llewellyn finished his rugby playing career at Toulouse, the team has its base in the picturesque walled city of Carcassonne, not far from the foothills to the Pyrenees. Their star rider and professional Welshman, Rhys Koch, is also a fanatical rugby supporter, as well as being a rugged and uncompromising rider. Rhys is their ruler, the son of a Welsh miner from the valleys. He spent his youth exploring the hills of Snowdonia on 2 wheels. It might be a cliche to say this, but when not cycling, he is a stalwart of his local choir, or he can be found cheering on Pontypridd, Rugby Football Club. The team's sprinter is Michał Czerwiński. This naturally gifted rider hails from the windswept shores of the Baltic Sea. Howling gales, swirling sand, and the smell of fish being freshly smoked in home-built smokehouses, these represent Michał's natural habitat. He is never happier than when he is battling against a raging headwind. Our second muscle team and the fifth team in the race are the Rose Racers. This Jordanian team is a relatively new player on the scene. Their two main riders typify the international dimension they bring to their work. Part of their ethos is to promote road cycling in non-traditional parts of the world. And rumour has it that they are in advanced talks with major sponsors to establish a new Grand Tour to rival the three established European tours. There may be interesting times ahead. Rose Racer's rouleur is Rock Salmon, a hard-nosed New Yorker known for his no-nonsense approach to life. He lives and breathes cycling and demands the same of his teammates. Their sprinter, Hansi Bink, aka the Gazelle, is a novice road racer from South Africa, but is showing the potential to be a world beater. This boy from the veldt is rapidly finding himself at home in the hurly-burly of professional cycling. Last but not least is our second brain team, Black Eagle Racing. Another newcomer to the road racing scene, this team is sponsored by Eagle Corp, a company specialising in producing high-end cashmere, both the raw product and in finished form as clothing. Eagle Corp is based in Hovd, the regional capital of Hovd region in the far west of Mongolia. The success of local boy Harin Battoyrug encouraged their entry into the professional cycling world. Company CEO Ganboldin Dilgasakhan is on record as saying that he wishes to link his company's products with the glamour of the cycling Grand Tours. Their ruler is Kyle Blackstone, who likes to think he was born half kangaroo. A typical Australian outdoorsman, he enjoys a challenge and is willing to grind out the miles at the head of the peloton. Sprinter Harin Battoyrug is a rare example of a professional rider from the Mongolian steppe. His fearsome final burst of speed is respected and feared in equal measure. His rivals have learned never to give him an inch when the prize is in sight. So now that all the runners and riders are assembled, all that remains is to stage the race. Each of the next 8 podcasts will present a playthrough of one stage. So goodbye for now, and we hope to meet you again when stage 1 from Aurillac to Jushak will go down.